technically I'm recovering from a surgery, so I am trying to not do so much, not be active. Um, but, and I wasn't sure what video I was going to upload talking about music. But then I was on Instagram this morning. I woke up at like 5. I couldn't go back to sleep, so I was on Instagram and I saw a reel by a band called Bridget Calls Me Baby. And I didn't have the sound on the reels, so I couldn't hear the music. And they had the lyrics on the reel, and the video was like, it was well done. And I was looking at the lyrics, and the lyrics said, I bought Blue Velvet on DVD and brought it to the slumber party. And without even listening to the music, I just clicked on the band just to see like how many followers they had and if they were like a big deal or whatever. I don't know how big of a deal they are. They have like 15,000 followers on Instagram. They're followed by Magnet Magazine, which I guess is pretty good. And I was, it was interesting because I did end up, I shared the reel to a story to sort of mock it. And by sharing it, I was able to hear what it sounded like. And it was pretty much what I expected it to sound like, where you have a band that they look like they're from Chicago. I looked them up before I started this video. They're from Chicago, but they're kind of like Anglophiles, and the singer looks like Robert Pattinson from Twilight. I've never seen those movies. I'm not trying to make the case that I'm cool for not seeing Twilight. I just haven't. But so I was like, yeah, this really irritates me. These guys really irritate me. This is a really irritating thing. And I wanted to use them. Actually, and I couldn't go back to sleep, probably for a variety of reasons. But I wanted to use this as a jumping off point to just sort of talk about genres, music, and what I'm going to probably title this video, which is Gothic music as a genre and why it's a problem. So basically, I think that if we're going to talk about genres, almost all music we listen to now it is genre based, and the most common ones are like pop, rock, rap, jazz, things like that. It's impossible to be an innovator, and it's ridiculous to be constantly trying to push yourself to be an innovator in what you're doing artistically. I mean, someone like Bowie did that really well. Prince did that really well. But genres are kind of things that you happen to fall into. And I think that when there's a certain balance that people have between sort of what their artistry is relating to their talents and what they're trying to accomplish musically, and then what the genre that they've sort of fallen into or they're trying to emulate or be a part of dictates to them. So I like black metal a lot, right? Black metal is a genre, and it started with bands playing metal and going and not just having a certain musical aesthetic, which black metal definitely does, but then also having certain lyrical, ideological sort of tenets and aesthetic tenets that have to do visually. So you're going to get the original black metal bands, Dark Throne, Mayhem, Immortal, bands like that, Emperor. that they really forged the way. And you listen to those early records, and it's, wow, it's really, it's creating this new genre, and it's really powerful, and it has sort of that excitement that new genres or births of new artistic explosions have, like possibly like listening to Elvis Presley's like Sun recordings, things like that. And then you get people that like the genre, they like everything that's been kind of laid down by that initial explosion, artistic explosion, and then they say, we're just going to let what happened then dictate what we do artistically. And I definitely tend to have music that is black metal that falls into that latter category, where, yeah, we're a black metal band, and we do stuff that we heard on other black metal albums. That's what being in a genre, that's what really genre definition, self-definition via genre entails. It says, we like, you know, shoegaze. And so we we emulate and regurgitate or recursively sort of repeat things that we've heard on shoegaze albums that we like. Now, returning to black metal, there's bands like one of my favorite ones lately is Spectral Wound, where maybe they are just regurgitating stuff that they heard on early black metal records, but they're doing it really well. But B, I think there's an important aspect where they have their own craft and their own artistic sensibility that's really strong, and then that comes through in the music. And you're like, wow, so yeah, this is part of a genre that's been around for 30 some years, 40 some years maybe, but there's people that are still doing it really well. Gothic music is a problem. And and a band like Bridget Likes Me or Bridget Loves Me, they're not really, when I saw them, I immediately thought of another band that I really disliked that was really successful, and it's Interpol. Because when Interpol came out, I was like, yeah, this is just taking Joy Division and Bauhaus and sort of regurgitating it in a way where it can get played on commercial radio, which it did. Another band at that time that wasn't as successful, but it was successful out here, was Airborne Toxic Event. So why is it that, like, so I was thinking of when I was making this video, because I couldn't go back to sleep, I was stewing with these ideas. I was thinking, I like a lot of goth music. I like, well, let's go with like really basic ones. I like Bauhaus. I like Joy Division. I learned to appreciate Alien, Sex Fiends, like early stuff. I like that early Nick Cave and the Bad Seed stuff. I like Cocteau Twins. I like The Cure. I like Susie and the Banshees. I like Christian Death a lot. But and I also I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with a band that's just a band that's sort of saying like, hey, we want to do goth music, and we're just going to take these things that now those bands way more disparate artistically, aesthetically, ideologically than black metal. Black metal is much more rigorous, but there's consistent aesthetic themes to all those goth bands I listed, right? So I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with some band that was like, hey, and I don't consider the Smiths and Morrissey goth, but they're a British Anglophile sort of force in that kind of aesthetic that would inform a band like Interpol or Bridget Likes Me, Loves Me, Slumber Party, DVD, etc. Right? So I wouldn't have a problem if there was a band that was like, yeah, we really like all these goth bands, and it fits our kind of mood and everything. And we're just going to let that genre dictate what we're going to do artistically. And maybe there's room to move further down the road starting out that way. You know, I think the Cure started out post-punk. It's a post-punk kind of band, and then moved into these sort of new uncharted areas where Robert Smith's songwriting got to come out and be more interesting. And but the problem I think I have with the Bridget Loves Me and Interpol and Airborne Toxic Event and a lot of other bands that have this aesthetic or dabble in this aesthetic is that they're not just doing the thing where the genre is going to dictate what we're going to do. It's also sort of saying, like, it also has this kind of commercialism built into it as well, like Twilight. I don't even really know. I know as much about Twilight as anyone who's watched TV in the last like 30 years knows about Twilight, or the internet has watched videos making fun of Twilight. I know that much, but watching this video without the sound on and just looking at the lyrics and these guys, I'm like, oh, there's like this Twilight kind of thing. And I'm not even going to say that it's a mall goth thing. I'm just going to say that, yeah, there's this, the problem with this type of goth culture is having it's not the genre stipulations, it's the commercialization being built into it. And I think that really started with Interpol. Interpol was a band that was like, well, we're going to take the Morrissey, we're going to take the Smiths, and we're going to take Joy Division, we're going to take some Bauhaus, and then we have like a label, we have A&R guys, we have whatever, and the commercialism, the marketing machine is just built into what we're going to do. Now, maybe that's bad for any genre if you have that sort of commercialism built into it. But with goth, it seems especially bad because that commercialism is antithetical to sort of the depressive, melancholic nature that the music's supposed to be espousing or countenancing, you know? So I guess if you in their punk rock, this happened with, right? Because Green Day and things like that, it seemed kind of faked, and it seemed sort of like antithetical to what really punk rock is. And that's what, and then you have people in punk rock that are constantly trying to sort of assert their credibility, their cred, and whatever. And that's kind of more of a direct Nirvana, who viewing themselves as a sort of punk band, had that issue too. That's more of a place where a serious conversation can kind of happen, even in the case of Green Day. But I think when you get to Molly Likes Me and this sort of thing, it's not, like I said, it's not even mall goth. When you get to this particular level, what's happening is that commercialism that's built into your image is antithetical to what the genre is supposed to be stipulating, and it overpowers it. It's totally overpowering, and it makes your whole enterprise and endeavor absurd. And then if you have like really bad lyrics, like I only listened to the snippet of the song, but like the DVD of Blue Velvet to the Slumber Party, it's just so bad, right? Maybe I'll listen if enough people like and comment or whatever on this video, then maybe I'll listen to more of their stuff, but I doubt my opinion will change. So that's just my rambling thoughts today on this most likely going to be pretty warm February morning in Los Angeles. So anyways, like, subscribe, listen to the Happy Casualties. Talk to you later.